The story begins with a taxi driver speeding uncontrollably, unable to stop himself. Suddenly, a woman and her daughter appear in front of the car. The mother notices the danger and quickly pushes her daughter out of the way at the last moment. The driver hits the mother, and the car crashes into the water. He gets out of the car, and we find out that a demon has possessed him. Suddenly, an old man and a girl appear, telling the demon that he is accused of escaping from the underworld and that they have come to arrest him, politely, if possible. The demon refuses to surrender and starts fighting them. Then, our hero John appears. He goes to the little girl, places his hand on her head, makes her sleep, and erases her memory of what happened. He walks on water, as if it's nothing impressive to us, the audience. He pulls the mother out of the water, lays her beside her daughter, and wipes her memory too. So far, there's nothing new. Anyone could do this, right? Walking on water is just routine. John then joins the fight, casts a spell on the girl, and turns her into a legendary sword that he uses to fight the demon. He easily defeats him, reverting the demon to his original form. The old man uses a phone to trap the demon's soul in it. Again, nothing new here, folks. Just trapping a demon in a phone like it's a normal thing. We then learn that John is the most powerful demon hunter, and the two with him are his assistants. With the mission completed, they return to the underworld. There, we meet a beautiful woman named Xiao, whom John is infatuated with. His assistant becomes jealous of Xiao, and they argue. John tries to keep them apart to handle each one on his terms. A bit of a player, really. Just joking. While he's joking around, the demon seizes the opportunity and escapes. He casts a spell on John's assistant and turns her into a sword, placing it against Xiao's neck, threatening to kill her unless they open the portal to the human world. Naturally, John refuses, so the demon wounds Xiao and opens the portal. As the portal to the human world begins to pull everyone in, John tries to grab Xiao's hand. But when she sees that he's in pain because of her, she lets go, telling him to find her and that she'll be waiting. John is shocked and wants to go after her, but the queen of the underworld arrives and stops him. She tells him that time moves differently. 1 second in the underworld equals months in the human world. So finding her will be nearly impossible. But John refuses to give up and vows to search for her until he finds her. Meanwhile, 3 months have passed in the human world. Xiao is living with an old woman named Wang and helping her in her shop. Xiao has lost her memory and only remembers her name. She's looking for a job to pay rent and applies to many places online. She lives in a shared apartment with a roommate named Sarah, who sells accessories from her car. She asks viewers to like and subscribe. Classic. Back in the human world, John arrives and manages to locate the demon. He uses a spell to paralyze him and captures him. He takes him to a remote place, strangles him, and asks about Xiao's location. The demon is about to confess, but suddenly a portal opens and sucks John in. Lucky escape for the demon. At the same time, Wang hears something break in the shop while Xiao is with her. When she checks, she finds that the portal has brought John to them. He's thrilled to see Xiao again and hugs her, but she doesn't recognize him. Suddenly, he faints from exhaustion. Wang, puzzled, takes him home to help figure out who he is. When John wakes up, Xiao and Wang are scared of him. Xiao asks how he knows her name. John realizes she's lost her memory and decides not to tell her about her past until he discovers the demon's secret. Xiao receives a call saying she has to go somewhere and will talk to him more later. Wang goes to get John some water, but when she returns, he has vanished. At the same time, John's assistants are searching for him. He meets up with them at a hotel. Suddenly, the queen of the underworld appears and tells them the demon is being controlled by a mastermind, and they need to find out who and what their goal is. She gives them a box containing phones and IDs so they can live in the human world and forget they're from the underworld. The next morning, Xiao and her roommate Sarah wake up to a knock at the door. Sarah says it's the landlord asking for rent, so they go to avoid being seen. Xiao nearly trips, but John, who has been secretly watching her, stops time, catches her, and everything continues like nothing happened. Again, nothing surprising to us, dear viewers. Later, Xiao goes to help Wang at the shop as usual, and John visits her. She's happy to see him doing well. She asks him to write his number so she can learn more about his story and how he knows her name. Then Xiao goes to the university, where the dean wants to expel her for cheating in exams. But a professor named Young defends her and promises to be responsible for her behavior going forward. Sarah is touched by his kindness and thanks him. That night, they return to their apartment to find that the landlord has thrown their belongings out for unpaid rent. They are forced to stay at a hotel, which turns out to be haunted. Only Zhao can see the ghosts and demons. She is scared at first, but when she approaches them, they disappear. She laughs, realizing they ran away from her. The next day, they go to a cafe where Xiao applies for a job. The owner turns out to be Professor Young. He asks her to make coffee, likes her work, and hires her. That night, a man on a motorcycle sees a ghostly woman sitting behind him. He's terrified when he sees her reflection and crashes. She demands to be taken home. John and his team arrive and ask the ghost to surrender. She sees two girls on a bridge, Xiao and her roommate, and tries to possess them. John runs to protect them and arrives just in time. She escapes, and the next day, Xiao and Sarah have no memory of the previous night and don't know how they got home. Xiao checks her phone and finds photos from last night showing the ghost, but Sarah can't see anything in the picture. Xiao asks how she doesn't see it when it's right there, but Sarah insists there's nothing. John's assistants tell him they got Xiao and Sarah home and erased their memories. But what's more intriguing is the ghost woman. She was supposed to live to age 40 but died suddenly, meaning someone killed her. John wants to bring her killer to justice so her soul can rest. He checks surveillance footage and sees her in a warehouse. He goes there, but Wang sees him and brings him to her shop, asking him to work for her because he's handsome and will attract customers. Suddenly, a young man named Michael storms in with his men and starts smashing the kitchen. John wants to intervene, but Wang stops him, worried for his safety. She doesn't know he's the one to be feared. Michael is the son of the landowner and wants Wang to vacate the shop by force. He leaves some money for the damage and leaves. Wang is upset because she won't be able to complete her order on time. John decides to help. He uses his power to restore everything and summons a ghost chef to finish the order. Wang is amazed and thinks she must have done it all in her sleep. She's thrilled and insists he must stay. Meanwhile, John senses the ghost woman is nearby and vanishes to confront her. She's at Xiao's place and tries to attack her, but John arrives just in time and makes the ghost flee. The ghost then possesses a vendor and chokes him until he passes out and vanishes. John takes the man home, and when he wakes up, he accuses John of killing his wife, saying her ghost returned to take revenge. The man explains that when they got married, they were poor but happy. Then he took a loan and started a business, got busy, and the company failed. He became heavily in debt and decided to divorce her to protect her. He told her he didn't love her, but he was lying. She was devastated, cried a lot, wrote a letter, and jumped. The man breaks down crying. John, wanting to confirm the story, uses his powers to transport himself and Xiao to the time of her death. They see her crying and about to jump, but she changes her mind and decides to live. Suddenly, someone pushes her from behind. When the face is revealed, it's her husband. The man is shattered, insisting he didn't do it. John believes him and concludes that a demon had possessed him. John runs to the house, casts a spell on the door, and plans with Xiao to capture the ghost. He explains that she punishes unfaithful men. They head to a garage and find Michael with his girlfriend. Xiao pretends to be someone he cheated on and slaps him. His girlfriend believes her and leaves him. Sensing the ghost is near, she appears to Michael, asks for a ride, and terrifies him. He faints. John and his assistants arrive, capture the ghost, bring her husband, and John throws him to her. A spell is cast, and it lets her see. Her husband tries to hug her but can't because she's a ghost. She accuses the ghost of hating her and trying to get rid of her, so she wants to kill him. But she's shocked to see he's still wearing their wedding ring. She's moved and realizes he truly loved her, and still does. John shows her the moment of her death, and he laughs. It turns out it was Xiao disguised as her husband. His wife discovers the truth and apologizes for doubting him. She tells him now she can die peacefully and be at rest. John's assistants take her to the underworld, and her husband is left crying over her departure. After that, Xiao walks with John and thanks him for what he's done. She wants to know who he really is, but he says she'll find out when the time is right. The next day, while Xiao is working in the cafe, she goes to throw away some food, but the cleaning lady takes it and says she'll donate it to an orphan child. Xiao is touched and brings her breakfast, telling her to give it to the child and to let her know if he needs anything. She thanks her and leaves. Xiao goes to the boy and gives him the food, but she notices him talking to someone who isn't there and calling him Dad. She gets scared and leaves the house. The next day, Xiao visits the cleaner again and gives her more food for the boy, but the cleaner refuses, saying she saw something yesterday that should not be seen and that she won't return to that house. Xiao deduces there's a ghost in the boy's house and asks John for help. She visits him at Wang's shop and buys him a gift. He agrees to help and they go together to the child's house. The boy opens the door, and when they enter, they see his father's ghost, but the ghost is afraid of John and disappears. The boy is upset and leaves them outside. Xiao falls asleep from exhaustion, and John covers her with his jacket. The next morning, she wakes up and sees John giving her coffee. She finds out he's stayed up all night to protect her. She realizes she's late for work, and John offers to take her there. He helps her put on his jacket and warms her hand in his pocket. When she arrives at the cafe, Sarah is there, and suddenly Michael appears. They're scared of him, but he pleads with them to help because his girlfriend now thinks he's a cheater. He blames them for ruining his life. They feel guilty and agree to help. Then Young walks in, staring at Xiao while she works, clearly smitten with her. That night, he walks them home and asks Xiao out on a date, confessing his feelings. She's stunned and doesn't know how to respond. He leaves her to think. She goes to the boy's house to give him food again and finds him with the ghost. The ghost asks her and John to stop coming because his presence scares the child. She's torn and unsure what to do. She returns John's jacket and he takes her to a hidden place in the underworld. She wanders there, eating and drinking happily, but when she tries to leave, she gets lost. John rescues her and carries her all the way home. When they arrive, he lays her on the couch and covers her. As he watches her sleep, he hears her muttering in her sleep about someone confessing their feelings to her. John is surprised and walks away. The next morning, Xiao wakes to find Sarah beside her. Sarah goes out to buy something, but on her way back, a woman stops her and follows her upstairs, asking Xiao for rent in advance. Xiao gives her the money, and she goes downstairs to hand it to the woman, her mother, who laughs after taking it. She uses the money, which Sarah had been saving, to gamble. Michael sees her by chance, and it causes problems for her, even at university. Sarah is summoned for not paying her tuition, and she's given a 2-week deadline, or she'll be expelled. Other students find out and bully her, calling her a scammer and a cheat. Michael hears and gets upset. He visits her and offers help now that they're friends, but Sarah refuses, saying she has dignity and will never accept help. She walks away. Young finds out what happened and tells a staff member that he'll handle it because he's responsible for her. Sarah sits in the cafe with Xiao, upset. Young comes and offers her a job reading fortunes to entertain the customers. She's delighted and thanks him. When she leaves the cafe, she finds Michael waiting for her. He tells her not to be upset and that he paid her tuition, calling it a friendship gift. He did it to be closer to her. Later, Xiao visits John, and he tells her he knows the ghost's story. He asks her to close her eyes and holds her hands, letting her see what happened. The ghost was working overtime to earn money for his son's tuition and fell asleep at the wheel, causing the accident. The company refused to pay the insurance, saying the accident was his fault. Sarah passes by and sees John holding Xiao's hands. She gets angry, questioning how Xiao could reject Professor Young for a guy like John. John is annoyed and uses his power to make her keep sneezing, then takes Xiao's hand and walks away. Sarah quickly asks Michael to follow them. He tails them to the company, where they try to demand the insurance money. The manager refuses and throws them out. Xiao begs John to take them back in time to find proof. Michael overhears and surprises them by saying he'll come too. John agrees, and tells them to close their eyes. They go back to the day of the father's death. They see him signing the insurance form and submitting it to his manager. But after the accident, the manager never filed it, fearing police investigation. They return to the present and confirm that the father was entitled to compensation, but the manager still refuses. The next day, John is working at Wang's shop, and many girls come in, impressed by his good looks. Embarrassed, he retreats to the kitchen. Xiao keeps watching him, clearly falling for him. Michael arrives and apologizes to Wang. To make it up, he enters the kitchen to distract John. That night, the company manager tries to burn his office to destroy evidence, but John appears and casts a spell so the ghost can appear to him. The manager is terrified, collapses, and starts confessing everything. Michael is hiding and recording it all. Xiao arrives with the police and gives them the recording. The manager is arrested. John's assistants capture the ghost to take him to the underworld, but he begs to see his son one last time. John agrees. When they visit, the boy is crying. John casts a spell so the boy can hug his father and touch him. The father tells him goodbye, saying he wants him to stay brave and that he'll always watch over him. Xiao is deeply moved and emotional. The next day, Xiao and Sarah are in the cafe, and Young thanks them for attracting so many new customers. He gives Sarah her weekly pay so she can pay her tuition. She's overjoyed and thanks him. But outside, her mother is waiting and tries to steal the money. Sarah accidentally knocks her to the ground and runs away. The next day, Michael visits the cafe and sees a birthday invitation with Young, assuming it's from a girl named Lena, whom he knows. She's from a wealthy family, and everyone wants to be close to her. But her problem is that she's extremely introverted and hard to approach. That night, Young walks Xiao home and confesses his feelings, but she can't respond because she's lost her memory and doesn't remember anything about her past. He tells her it doesn't matter, and he hugs her. At that moment, John sees them and, naturally, is upset, because if he wasn't, the show would be broken. Xiao sees him and feels awkward. She pulls away from Young and rushes upstairs. The next day, Xiao and Sarah are heading to the cafe when 4 men appear. They're debt collectors her mother owes money to. They attack, trying to kidnap Sarah. She screams, and her mother sees everything. She rushes to defend her daughter and gets attacked too. John senses Xiao is in danger and rushes in, using his powers to make the men feel pain in their heads, and escapes with her. Sarah and her mother sit in the cafe, and the mother confesses she's seeing a therapist to treat her gambling addiction, which started after her husband's death. She says she drinks to forget. She admits she took money from Sarah to pay her debts. Sarah is touched and gives her her card to pay off the rest. They reconcile and become close again. Later, the queen of the underworld enters the cafe, wanting to tell Xiao about her past, but John intervenes, claiming Xiao as his. No one believes the queen, and John pulls her aside to talk. Xiao thinks there's something between them and feels jealous. The queen tells John if he doesn't confess his feelings to Xiao, Young will disappear from her life. She vanishes afterward. John sees Young entering the cafe with flowers and giving them to Xiao. John is jealous. After her shift, Young is waiting for her like always to walk her home. John watches them on camera, upset. The queen and her friend appear beside him, encouraging him to confess his feelings. They pressure him into it. Cut to Xiao, who's stunned to see him. John is awkward and says, I want to tell you something. She asks, why are you out in house clothes like this? You look a mess. He replies, no, it's just, I want to ask you to have dinner with me. What do you think? She can't believe it and agrees. He invites her to his place. She says, I'd love to. When she arrives, she heads to the kitchen to cook, but when she opens the fridge, it's empty. She starts fumbling for words, joking around and saying, the beautiful lady who was with you, doesn't she cook for you? He gets closer to her and tells her, no, she doesn't come over. She's just a friend, and there's nothing between us. Xiao stutters, feeling embarrassed by him. The doorbell rings. Great timing. She needs to save the moment. John goes to open the door and finds the queen has left some food at the doorstep for them to have dinner. Xiao takes the bag to cook for him, and John keeps looking at her with love in his eyes. Later, he tastes the food and tells her it's as sweet as sugar. even though it's salty. Oh dear viewer, we just have to say sugar. They sit and eat together, but Zhao is nervous because they're alone. She tells him it's getting late and leaves the house, all shy. The next day, John is at the shop with Michael, who tells him that Young is going to a birthday party and taking Zhao with him. Lena is standing behind the shop, watching them. When John sees her, he realizes a ghost is controlling her. That night, our friends go to the birthday party, and Zhao is wearing a beautiful dress. Really beautiful. Even I, dear viewer, was impressed. She goes up to Lena and sees the ghost possessing her. Lena and Sarah start treating them badly, bullying them for being poor. They tell them they don't belong at the party. But Zhao approaches her and speaks to the ghost inside, asking what she wants. Lena gets angry and throws a drink at her, ruining her dress. Such a shame. But Sarah doesn't stay quiet. She throws a drink back at her. Shame for shame. Now prepare to be shocked. The pianist, who has nothing to do with the series, suddenly changes too. He looks possessed. He plays strange music, and everyone at the party starts fighting and hitting each other. One guy tries to attack Zhao, but Young hits him and gets him away. He goes over to the pianist and holds his hand, purifying whatever was inside him. Everyone comes to their senses, and everything returns to normal. Zhao arrives in his car and introduces himself, saying he's interested in the paranormal. He claims he has a kind of ability to exorcise ghosts, both now and in the future. Of course, nothing special. We all do that, dear viewer. Still not surprised? I'm starting to doubt I'll ever be shocked. I might need a whole new level of amazement. At the same time, Sarah is dropping Michael off at his house because he drank too much and is out of it. Suddenly the doorbell rings. When she opens the door, it explodes in her face. When she enters, she falls to the ground, and the ghost possessing her emerges. This time, Sarah sees the ghost and screams in terror, then faints. The ghost goes to Michael and cuddles up to him, obsessed and wanting to possess him. Meanwhile, John talks to Young, asking him how he was able to exorcise the ghost from the pianist. Young explains that his grandfather was a priest who left behind a notebook. He learned a lot from it about curses and evil spirits. That's the whole story. No need for surprise. We all read old notebooks. Later, Michael is asleep and dreaming he's in a strange place. A terrifying woman approaches him. He screams and wakes up terrified. At the shop, he tells John, "Please help me. There's a girl chasing me everywhere." John looks and is surprised to find she's not afraid of him. He casts a spell on her to expel the ghost, but she's unaffected. It's still possessing Lena. He takes Michael into the shop to show him what happened to her, to help him understand why she's haunting him. We find out Michael gave her money for university, and she's loved him ever since. She wrote him a letter to confess her feelings, but he got a call and left without reading it. She was devastated. Unfortunately, she died. As fate would have it, Lena passed by at that moment, and the evil spirit possessed her body. That's how the possession started. John reassures Michael, and they come up with a plan to exorcise the spirit without harming Lena. Michael takes her out on a date and brings her to his house. When she sits down, they trap her with ropes. Zhao and her friends show up, part of the plan, but Lena breaks free and tries to attack them. John arrives and casts a spell, expelling the ghost from her. He makes Sarah faint so she won't see what's happening. He's about to destroy the ghost, but Michael stops him and asks for a chance to speak with her. Michael thanks her for loving him, tells her he remembers her name and that she was beautiful. He asks her to keep smiling and that they might meet in another life. John prepares to send her to the underworld, but she reveals someone killed her. He feels there's a mystery here. The next day, John is at the shop, and Wang tells him she dreamed of her son, who's abroad. His face was pale, like he hadn't eaten in a week. He told her sadly that he wouldn't see her again. John realizes he's dead but doesn't tell her. He reassures her that everything's fine and that it was just a nightmare. Later, at university, Sarah sees a classmate playing the piano, the same one from the birthday party. She finds out he's obsessed with playing. That night, he's sleeping at home and having a nightmare. He wakes up to the sound of piano music and sees a ghost playing. It's his mother. She forces him to play all night. Meanwhile, Xiao is leaving the cafe and John is waiting for her. She senses him and tells him, "Every time you watched me, I felt like you were close." John is surprised. He walks her home and she invites him in for coffee. He pretends to make excuses so he can stay longer. He tells her he's just a spirit, but pretends it's because the weather is terrible. He uses his power to make it rain with thunder and lightning. He almost throws in earthquakes and volcanoes too. She's stunned and goes back to John, who's pretending to sleep on the couch. She covers him with a blanket and watches him as he sleeps. The next day, Sarah asks Xiao to meet her at the cafe. When Xiao arrives, surprise, her brother is there. I was shocked, dear viewer. Now this is amazement. He steps forward and confesses his feelings to her, asking her to marry him. See how fast life moves? Xiao hesitates and tells him, "I consider you a friend, but I like someone else." Young realizes she loves John and wishes her happiness. She walks outside and finds John waiting for her. He takes her hand and tells her he missed her. Xiao feels happy with him. The next day, Young is at university thinking about her, heartbroken because she turned him down. A fellow teacher tells him a student locked himself in the music room and is playing strangely. Young goes to check, but finds the student walking around campus normally. Xiao sees him and realizes something strange is going on. Suddenly, the student faints and collapses. They take him home, and when he wakes up, he says he remembers nothing. They find out he lives alone. Suddenly, Sarah feels a chill, hears piano music, and sees Zhao with the ghost mother playing. The music suddenly stops, and the ghost is weakened. She says they're interfering with her son's training. She throws Young to the ground and tries to attack Xiao. But of course, we know what happens. John arrives and saves her. While he checks on her, the ghost tries to attack him from behind, but Zhao shields him with her body, taking the hit. John loses his temper and uses his power to hit the ghost. He calls for his assistant to take it to the underworld. He wipes the memories of everyone in the area except Young and asks him to take Sarah home. He takes Xiao with him to heal her. Her condition is serious, so he gives her some of his energy, holding her in his arms, worried. When she wakes up, part of her memory has returned. She remembers John and hugs him happily, thanking him for never giving up on her. She asks if he caught the demon who kidnapped her. He says not yet, but he discovered the demon is actually Wang's son, the shopkeeper's child. Oh no, dear viewer, the twist we've been chasing all along. It was someone right next to us. Later, John takes her home and sees Young and Xiao holding hands. He feels jealous. The next day, John is at the shop and sees Wang holding a photo of her son, looking sad. John starts to suspect something strange. He hears that her granddaughter is always busy and can't visit. He becomes even more suspicious. The next day, Sarah and Michael go to the university and find most students are skipping class. Young checks the dorms and finds all the students watching a piano video in a trance. He realizes their minds have been taken over and tells Sarah and Michael to cover their ears. The video affects all humans. Young has protected himself with a charm. Young and Shou go to visit the obsessed piano student. He tells them he quit music long ago and collapses. They return to the university. Suddenly, Xiao feels like time has stopped. She sees John using his powers and casting a spell to return the students to normal, but afterward, he's exhausted from using so much energy. John returns to the shop and finds Wang received a message and is heading out. He decides to go with her. Xiao sees them and follows by taxi. There, she discovers Wang's granddaughter is in a care home. She used to be beautiful and well-liked, but inappropriate photos of her were leaked online. Her fiancé left her, and she's been struggling ever since. Later, Wang returns home, reassured that everything will be okay. The next day, Xiao is at the cafe. When she leaves, John is waiting and takes her to a secret place. They stay there together. They start drinking together and having a nice time. Xiao prepares tea, cleans up the house since he drank a lot, and stays by his side all night. The next day, they go to Wang's shop and she's told that unfortunately her son has passed away. She is in shock and disbelief. John approaches her, places his hand on her head, and shows her the day her son died. We see him walking and getting stopped by a gang. Unfortunately, we learn that he used to work for them. They wanted him to return to work, but he refused, saying he had promised his mother not to get involved again. To ensure he wouldn't report them, they kept beating him until he fainted. They tied him up and dumped him. He was calling out for his mother before he died. All this time, the mother is in shock, collapsing from crying. Xiao hugs her and tries to comfort her. When she calms down, it turns out she had known from the beginning that John wasn't human because she saw him several times talking to spirits. She tells him she trusts him. After that, Wang decides to take care of her granddaughter because she has no one else left. She and John go back to the house, but the granddaughter remains silent and doesn't speak. At that time, Xiao is returning from the cafe and feels pain in the wound on her neck. Suddenly, the demon who had kidnapped her appears. She's terrified and unable to move. She remembers the incantation John had taught her and quickly uses it to attack him and drive him away. Later that night, while returning home, she sees a group of guys watching the cursed piano video and freezing in place. She decides to ask Yang for help. Meanwhile, Sarah visits Yang at his home and confesses that she likes him, but he tells her he only sees her as a friend. She gets upset and cries. He invites her in for coffee, but suddenly the doorbell rings. It's Xiao. Sarah feels bitter and decides not to see her. Xiao asks Yang to delete the video from social media, and he agrees. While going to get his laptop, Xiao sees some strange herbs he has, and when she smells them, they trigger some of her memories. She remembers she used to be able to make medicines to cure illnesses. She insists on taking the herbs. Yang is surprised and follows her. She goes to Wang's shop wanting to prepare a potion to heal her granddaughter. Yang stops her, saying that if those herbs are used incorrectly, they could be dangerous. Wang laughs and says she has known the girl for a long time. He was the one who deleted the pictures that were spreading online about her. Meanwhile, John watches them silently. He asks Yang to delete the piano video, and he agrees. He pulls out his laptop and manages to hack into the account of the person who uploaded the video, only to find multiple cursed videos. When they play them, the demon, Wang's son, appears in all of them. They see all the crimes he committed and realize there's a big mystery behind everything. Suddenly, they hear Wang's granddaughter screaming. When they arrive, they find her trying to fly. They quickly give her the potion Xiao made, and she calms down, returning to normal and regaining all her memories. Xiao is thrilled that the potion worked and that they were able to heal her. Wang hugs her and cries, thanking them for saving her granddaughter. They leave, and Yang gives the flash drive containing the cursed videos to John, saying, "You'll probably need this," and John thanks him. Afterward, Xiao returns home and has a fight with Sarah, who accuses her of playing with Yang's feelings even though she doesn't love him. Sarah storms off. Outside, she runs into Michael, who brings her flowers and takes her to a quiet place to cheer her up. She's happy and falls asleep in his car. The next day, when she wakes up, he gives her coffee and says, "By the way, you look really cute when you're asleep." Now, dear viewer, here's where things get messy. Michael likes Sarah, Sarah likes Yang likes Xiao, and Yao likes John. So why doesn't anyone love me, dear viewer? Why not like and subscribe to the channel, dear viewer? Anyway, Yang manages to track down the person who uploaded the cursed video. John asks his assistant to go to the address, but when she gets there, it explodes. She barely escapes. When she returns, she tells John, and they check the security footage, which shows the demon escaping from the computer screens. Yang concludes that the demon turned himself into a virus to travel through computer videos, which is why John and his assistants couldn't detect his spiritual energy or locate him. The next day, we see a young man with a laptop. He turns out to be the ex-fiancé of Wang's granddaughter, the one who spread the pictures of her from the pyramid. He did it just because he wanted to break up with her. Why didn't he just tell her he wasn't into her instead of ruining her life? When he opens the laptop, the demon emerges and tries to kill him for what he did to his daughter. But John's assistants arrive in time and rescue the young man, closing the laptop to prevent the demon from escaping. They throw a sealing incantation at the laptop and successfully trap the demon. He tries to break free, using his demonic powers to shatter the barrier, but John arrives. He transforms his assistant into a sword and fights the demon. He manages to defeat him, knocking him to the ground, and prepares to finish him off. But Xiao stops him and speaks to the demon, saying, "You don't realize what you did? Your mother and daughter are suffering because of you and are waiting for your return." The demon is deeply moved by her words, begins to cry, and asks John for one last chance to see his mother and daughter. John agrees and takes him to the shop. When Wang sees him, she breaks down in tears and says, "I've been waiting for you, son. Why did you take so long?" He apologizes to her and his daughter, saying he tried to change and open the shop to leave the gang life behind, but in the end, he died. It was his fate. His mother forgives him and says, "Now you can die in peace." He says goodbye and asks them not to look at him as he disappears. John returns to the underworld, but chooses not to erase the memories of Wang and her granddaughter so they can remember him. Xiao thanks him for everything he did. The next day, Xiao goes to the cafe and asks Yang if he's afraid of her since she's from another world. He replies, "Do you like strawberries?" She says yes. "Well, what if I told you strawberries are from another world? Would you still love them?" She says yes. He replies, "Exactly. My feelings for you won't change." Sarah sees this and feels jealous. She's upset because she's still in a fight with her best friend. John tries to cheer her up, but his assistant joins them, eating with them and ruining their night. He notices the herbs Xiao took from Yang and gets concerned. He decides to take them for testing. As John leaves the house, he runs into Sarah again. Every time she sees him, she starts sneezing. The next day, Michael wakes up to find John in his room, saying he was waiting downstairs. Michael goes down to have breakfast with him, and John finally confesses he's a demon slayer. Michael is shocked and scared, but John reassures him and says he's decided to make Michael his assistant. But he asks for a favor. "Teach me how to go on a date like a normal person." And sure enough, the next day John waits for Xiao with a motorcycle and flowers, just like Michael instructed. She's delighted and hops on. He takes her to an amusement park, and they go into a haunted house. Everyone else is scared, but they just laugh like they're watching a comedy. Then they eat ice cream and have a blast. He even takes her all the way home. When he returns, his assistant is there saying, "I found something strange. The herbs Xiao had are corpse flowers. They're deadly. In large amounts, they could kill someone." After hearing this, John decides to share some news with his assistant. "Listen, I wasn't going to say anything, but Sarah is your sister from a past life." Naturally, the assistant is stunned and asks how. John just replies, "That's life." Meanwhile, Sarah is walking home and sees a shadow behind her. She thinks it's Michael and tries to scare him, but it turns out to be someone else who suddenly vanishes. Back to Xiao, she's asleep and dreams of herself and John in strange clothes from another era. Sarah is standing over her, watching her sleep with a strange expression. The next day, John secretly watches Sarah, who senses him and starts sneezing again. She sees him in the mirror, confronts him, and tells him to stay away. When John leaves, he meets Michael and asks him to stay close to Sarah and protect her at all times, and to inform him if anything happens. Michael agrees. After all, he's officially hired now. Sarah is leaving university, and Michael is watching her. It's obvious he's falling for her hard. Meanwhile, Xiao sees a strange flower and suddenly turns into a little girl. Don't be surprised, dear viewer. This is normal. The flower introduces herself as Zora, a kind demon flower. She tells her a young man planted her and used to water her daily and talk to her as his only friend. But a week ago, he told her he had problems, and she hasn't seen him since. She asks for Xiao's help to find him, and Xiao agrees. She goes to meet John at the secret bar and tells him everything. She mentions the flower and asks for help. Later that night, we see Sarah meeting a man in a car and handing him a bottle with a strange liquid. When she returns home, she walks past the heroes as if they're invisible. They're surprised. What's stranger is that she doesn't sneeze when she sees John, which is unusual. They sense something is off, but when John follows her, he can't feel any demonic or ghostly energy. The next day, he meets with his assistant and says he suspects the demon case involving Xiao is not over. He believes there's a mastermind behind everything. They go to the place where they captured the demon and find a lingering demonic aura. He becomes certain his suspicion was right and feels that something dangerous is about to happen. After that, he goes to Michael's house and asks him to find the human who planted the flower and bring him his name as soon as possible. Michael agrees and gives his name and a photo of the young man to his men so they can find him quickly. The whole world turns upside down, searching for him until they finally manage to find him. That night, they sit with him. He is in disguise, has changed his appearance, and is afraid to talk, but Xiao reassures him and tells him not to be afraid. They will protect him. He tells her, "Look, there's a student at the university who's a bully. He sells bottles of water, but it's not just water. It gives insane energy and strength. I tried to stay out of it, but he knew where I lived, so I had to leave home." They take him to the place where he hid the bottles, and it turns out they're hidden next to the flower. John stops time and reveals the flower in her human form. When she sees her friend, she's happy he's okay but scared of John. He reassures her and tells her he's a good demon and won't return her to the underworld. He asks her to take care of her friend and protect him. She thanks him and promises to do so. They take the water to analyze it and discover it's made from the corpse flower that she took from Young. She's shocked and goes to meet him and asks where he got the flower. He says he got it from the chief of a tribe. Meanwhile, John's assistant meets with the Queen of Flowers and learns about the corpse flower, that it's a rare flower existing for 1,000 years, but suddenly disappeared from the underworld. She asks him to search for the person who transferred it to the human world. The next day, John and Xiao go to the university, and we learn that they informed the police, who arrested the bully student selling the water. After that, John's assistant continues monitoring Young's movements as he had instructed her, and she informs him that she hasn't found anything suspicious. At the same time, the bully's father shows up, pays bail, and gets him out of jail because the substance found on him wasn't actually water, but a type of sedative. Still, the father is upset with him, argues with him, and eventually calms down and asks him to take care of his son. He softens, and when they return home, he apologizes for being distant and asks for forgiveness. He cancels all his work and stays home with him, cooks for him like the old days, and the son cries from joy over the care he's receiving. But at night, he goes out to a bar, and Young is there watching him. We see Sarah disguised, observing them both, and she appears to have a strange aura. The student goes to the bathroom, and a man follows him and faints beside him, with Young's bottle next to him. Young is shocked and leaves the place. We see Sarah surrounded by a dark, demonic aura, and we realize an evil spirit is controlling her. At the same time, John's assistant goes to meet the Queen of the Underworld, but finds her office locked and surrounded by a powerful barrier. When she goes to John, she learns that the Queen has been arrested because a criminal escaped from the underworld prison, and she's being held responsible. The criminal's name is Lucci, John's arch-enemy, imprisoned with him 1,000 years ago. John immediately suspects that Lucci is the mastermind behind everything happening in the human world. The next day, Young goes to the cafe and finds it full of customers. Sarah shows up looking normal, reconciles with Xiao, and talks to her casually. Young is happy they're friends again. After work, they hang out, go to many places, and meet John and Michael, who join them. Xiao notices John staring at Sarah a lot and asks him. He tells her that she was his sister in a past life. She believes him and tells him she also had memories from a past life, but can't recall them fully. John explains about the demon Lucci and says he suspects him of being the one behind everything, even ordering the demon to kidnap her. Unfortunately, Sarah had been eavesdropping and heard everything. Later, they return to John's house and are surprised to find a woman unconscious on the floor. It's the secret bar owner. He takes her to his house, and when she wakes up, She tells him that Lucci came, killed everyone, and left her alive to send John a message. He's threatening him to stay away from the human world. The next day, John's assistant continues monitoring Young and sees Sarah going to him, asking for help with a tech-related issue. He gives her the name of an expert who can help her. John arrives, worried about Sarah, secretly casts a protection spell on her without her knowing, and sneaks into Young's house to search because he suspects him of preparing strange formulas. John senses that Young might see him, but it turns out he was imagining it. He realizes he misjudged him and leaves. Afterward, Sarah goes to Xiao and the cafe and suggests they make an app to sell drinks via delivery. Xiao likes the idea and agrees. The next day, Sarah brings the game after creating the app she wanted. They receive their first tea order, and Sarah goes to deliver it. We see her laughing evilly as she puts drugs in the drink. She delivers it to a student at the university. Later, the student is at the supermarket and receives a message with a video of automatic piano playing. He begins to break down emotionally, crying, and people film him, confused. The news spreads. More cases emerge. John sees the news and realizes it's related to the tea Sarah is selling. He goes to the cafe to investigate. The student with the demonic flower tells them that his friends lost control and all started crying after drinking the tea. Xiao is confused and smells the tea but doesn't find anything odd. John suspects Young, and when he leaves the cafe, he finds Short and asks about Young. Short tells him Young was at the bar the night the bully student died. John suspects Young is hiding something and wonders if Lucci is controlling him. That night, we see Young at the cafe opening his laptop, and Wagner music starts playing by itself. At the same time, John goes to Xiao and tells her he suspects Sarah is involved because she's the one delivering the tea. Xiao doesn't believe it. They create a plan to find out. The next day, Xiao goes to the cafe, and Sarah tells her there's a big tea order and asks her to prepare it. John, disguising his voice, placed the order and tells her to leave it on the desk. He takes it and gives it to Xiao to smell. This time, she detects the drug and confirms Sarah added it. They confront Sarah at home when she returns and ask if someone is forcing her. She denies it and gets upset that they don't trust her. She leaves crying. John suspects that Young might be the one behind all this, inciting her. But then, his assistant informs him that Lucci appeared and attacked Young. They rush to check on him, and John examines him, finding traces of Lucci's demonic aura. He realizes Young is a victim. Young explains that he was at the cafe investigating the matter when he felt someone following him. Suddenly, Lucci attacked and told him to stay out of it or die, but he managed to find the pianist's location and tells John. John and Xiao go to the address. It's a large theater. There, the obsessed pianist is under a spell forcing him to play. Suddenly, Sarah appears, looking different, and plays with him. John uses his power to capture him and subdues him, but the pianist speaks in a strange voice, warning John he'll regret it, saying he's Lucci's servant. He looks at Xiao and asks if she remembers what happened 1,000 years ago. John doesn't let him finish and knocks him out. After that, Xiao makes a healing potion, and John gathers all the affected students and takes them to the forest. They spread the antidote as smoke. Sarah is with them and recovers, but doesn't remember anything. She faints, and they take her home, but John feels uneasy. When Michael finds out, he visits Sarah to check on her, but she breaks his heart, saying she doesn't love him and is only interested in Young. Michael isn't upset. He tells her he's not sorry for his feelings. Then Zhao asks John to tell her what happened 1,000 years ago, since her memory hasn't fully returned. John avoids the question and doesn't answer. He visits the pianist, who is now in a care center, emotionally broken and refusing to speak. John asks for his help to reach Lucci, but he refuses. So John summons his mother's spirit from the underworld to convince him. The boy cries, hugs her, and says Lucci promised to bring her back if he obeyed him. But I know his real goal is to bring someone back to life for revenge on you, he says. John asks if he remembers Lucci's face, but he doesn't. John casts a protection spell on him. Later, John's assistant informs him that the one Lucci wants to revive is named Lotion, who is Xiao in her past life. John is shocked and realizes her life is in danger and he must protect her. He goes to meet her and arrives at the cafe, where Sarah and Young are sitting together and have grown close. They all go out together, and Young plays the piano at a restaurant. John, trying to forget, drinks heavily, and Xiao takes him home. There, while hallucinating, he calls her by her old name. She's surprised and feels the name is familiar but can't remember. She goes to John's assistant and asks him to tell her what happened 1,000 years ago. He tells her he can't help, and that only the queen of the underworld can tell her everything. Meanwhile, we see Young and Sarah together. They went to the care home to visit the young man who played music, but as soon as he felt their presence, he broke down. He told Young to stay away from him, called him a liar, and said he wouldn't help him anymore. When Young tried to get close to him, John's protection spell activated and threw him to the ground. Oh no, now they knew what they looked like. Lucci man. The guy stood up, bleeding and laughing maniacally. Claws appeared in his hands, and his demonic true form was revealed. He used his power to drain the young man's life force, and then killed him, laughing hysterically. It turns out he's the mastermind behind everything. He was the one who kidnapped Sarah and controlled her, and he's getting stronger to carry out his plans. We see him entering a secret room in his house filled with demonic plants, including the corpse flower. It turns out he's the one who invented the drug. Later, Xiao visits the queen of the underworld and learns that she can regain her old memories, but the cost of regaining the 1,000-year-old ones is losing her immortality. Xiao chooses her memories immediately and remembers everything. She sees Yang and realizes he was the one who ordered the demon to kidnap her and gave her a pill to make her forget. She writes everything down and heads home to confront him. She asks him why he did it and what his goal was. Yang realizes she's found him out, so he takes her to the secret room. Xiao tries to run away, but he forces her to inhale the scent of the demonic flower and knocks her out. Her 1,000-year-old memories start returning, and we learn that in her past life, she and John were normal humans in love. Yang was obsessed with her and wanted her for himself. He got rid of John and forcibly married her. Xiao cried over John for years, and eventually went to the queen of the underworld to ask to meet John again in her next life. The queen agreed, but made her lose her memories, and warned her that if she remembered, she'd no longer be immortal. Xiao wakes up and realizes she's no longer immortal. Yang tells her he's waited 1,000 years for this, and now nothing can stop them from being together. Xiao pretends to go along with it because she's afraid he'll hurt John. She leaves, crying uncontrollably. John calls her to check in, and she tells him she wants to talk. She goes to his house, pretending to be fine, and even says she'll cook for him. When she's done, she surprises John with a specific meal they used to eat together 1,000 years ago. He suspects her memories might be back, but doesn't push the topic. She stays over that night. The next morning, John wakes up to find her gone. He goes to her apartment. She's not there either. He tries calling her, but she doesn't answer. He goes to the cafe and finds her sitting with Yang, laughing. When she sees him, she tells him she has work to do. John is shocked by the sudden change in her behavior. He waits for her to finish work, but is devastated when he sees her leave holding Yang's hand. He tries to talk to her, but she breaks his heart, telling him she loves Yang now and wants to be with him, and that she doesn't want to see John anymore. She leaves him behind. John is crushed. He calls Michael, and they spend the whole night drinking to forget. The next day, Michael goes to Sarah's place and sees Yang hugging Xiao. He realizes Yang has stolen her from John. What a player. He tries to talk to Sarah and tells her Yang is playing with her feelings and cheating on her, but she refuses to believe him. She tells him not to mention her again and goes to Yang's place. He's not there, but she sees a photo he posted with Xiao and realizes they're together. She waits for them, and when they return, she slaps Yang. He gets angry and warns her never to do that again, that no one can hurt Xiao except him. He orders her to obey him, and she does, completely under his spell. Sarah kicks Xiao out, saying she's no longer her friend. Xiao walks the streets heartbroken, while John secretly watches her. He calls Michael and tells him to stay at his place. Later, John meets the queen of the underworld, who tells him he has to forget Xiao because she's human now and they can't be together anymore. From their conversation, we learn that a celestial event called the Alignment of the Nine Stars is approaching. That's when Lucci will reach full power. The queen gives John a magic ring, saying it will help him at that time. Meanwhile, Xiao moves into Yang's house and finds Sarah there, suffering under Yang's control. Michael calls John and tells him Xiao has left her place to live with Yang. John rushes over and sees her leaving with Yang. She tells him they're getting married. He's stunned and can't believe it. Then we see Yang tracking down the person who developed the delivery app and forcing him to make a new app that will bring a large crowd together on a day called the Eternal Day. He's clearly planning something dangerous. The next day, strange things start happening in the city. Many people become possessed and start chasing each other, even trying to kill. One of the possessed attacks Yang's granddaughter. John's assistant appears and rushes her to the hospital. When she wakes up, she finds a message from someone asking to meet. She decides to go, and John's assistant follows her to figure out what's going on, but it's a trap. One of Yang's followers appears with a powerful demonic artifact and attacks her. As she tries to escape, Yang shows up with Xiao. Xiao wants to help, but Yang stops her. He only wants to send a message to John. The assistant reaches John in critical condition, trying to tell him Lucci's identity, but passes out before she can. John takes her to the hospital, still unsure who hurt her. Meanwhile, Xiao holds a magical ring she got from the queen of the underworld to spy on Yang. She's terrified he'll find out and hurt the people around her. At the same time, Michael asks Sarah out, and surprisingly, she agrees. They spend a nice time together. Sarah genuinely feels happy for the first time in a while. Yang messages her, but she ignores it. At the end of the day, she breaks down crying, begging Michael to save her. She passes out in his arms. Michael takes her to John's place, where they discover that Yang cursed her for disobeying him. John tries to heal her, but the spell backfires on him. His assistant uses his spiritual energy to heal her instead. John stays by her bedside all night. The next morning, Sarah wakes up fine. She overhears John calling her his sister and is surprised. She asks him why, but suddenly, Yang tries to contact her again, and she starts to feel pain. John has to let her go back to him. When she arrives, Yang hugs her and tells her she disobeyed him and must be punished. John follows but can't enter the house due to a strong magical barrier. Xiao arrives, and he notices she's wearing a ring just like his. Inside, Yang forces Sarah to smell the demonic flower and says he's about to carry out his plan. Xiao uses her ring to teleport to John. Later, Yang tells Sarah to go receive her punishment. She finds out her mother has died and goes to collect her belongings from the care home. Michael sees her and tries to help, but she leaves to protect him from harm. Back home, she opens her mother's things and cries. Michael finds out she left university and her dorm and goes to John, thinking Yang kidnapped her. John says he can't interfere yet. They have to wait for eternal night. John and his assistant talk. He learns that Yang is actually Lucci and that Xiao told him everything when they were at her house. They had to pretend to break up because Yang was watching them. That night, John uses his powers to visit Sarah in her dreams and tells her she's his sister. She wakes up startled, but now knows everything. John activates his ring and sees what Yang is doing with Sarah. The ring keeps him updated. The next day, Xiao tries to gain Yang's trust by making him his favorite breakfast. He cries with joy, saying he hasn't eaten her food in 1,000 years. He gives her a gift, her late mother's necklace. She cries, remembering, and thanks him. She uses the opportunity to get close and asks what his plan is and how he'll escape the ice prison. Yang says he was never imprisoned. He had one of his followers take his place. He hid for 1,000 years, waiting for the alignment of the 9 stars to gather all his power. At that time, he'll open the gate of eternity and live with Xiao forever, ruling both the human world and the underworld. But to do that, he must sacrifice someone, and it will be Sarah. Xiao breaks down crying because he wants to sacrifice her best friend. She contacts John using the magic ring and surprises him with a video call, trying to warn him of the plan, but Yang walks in. The call ends, and he realizes she betrayed him. He gets furious, takes the ring from her. John is worried and knows she's in danger. He tries to reach her but fails due to the barrier around the house. His assistant tells him it's pointless and that Yang won't hurt Xiao. He's obsessed with her. The next day, they have breakfast together. Xiao has no appetite and tries to leave, but Yang uses his powers to force her to stay. She's scared and sits down again. Sarah gets a message from Michael and misses him, but can't reply, fearing for his safety. She leaves the house and heads out to the place she went to with Michael before, and she remembers her sweet memories with him, but she reacts as if he's going there by coincidence. As soon as he sees her, he runs to her and hugs her, crying. He begs her to come back like before, telling her that Xiao is her friend and loves her, and that John is her brother and is worried about her. She wants to tell him that she's doing all this against her will, but she leaves while crying. At the same time, we see Xiao entering Yang's secret room and realizing that he's been holding many souls captive. She starts breaking the glass to free them. When Sarah returns home and remembers Michael's words, she goes to Xiao, takes her, and goes to the door. She uses her demonic power to open it and starts to suffer. She asks Xiao to get out quickly and tells her to take care of her brother John. Xiao is shocked and realizes that Sarah is back to her true self. She escapes while crying, and Sarah sits at the door sobbing, terrified of Yang's reaction. Indeed, when he finds out what happened, he returns home and tells Sarah that she crossed the line, and that was her last warning. If she disobeys him again, he'll destroy her. He puts his hand on her head and begins to torture her. Meanwhile, John senses Xiao and realizes she's out of Yang's grasp. He goes to her and brings her home. They hug, and he tells her he was worried about her and won't let her leave again. We cut to John's friend, who is healing his assistant, and realizes John will need her soon in the battle against Lucci. So, she must prepare because she will turn into a sword for him. After that, John takes Xiao and goes to Michael, telling him that he'll be using his house. He leaves Xiao with Michael and hands his assistant a device to cast a protection spell over the whole house. When Xiao objects and says she doesn't want to leave him alone, he tells her she's become human and can't use her powers anymore, then leaves. Meanwhile, we see Yang with Sarah, and the sky begins to change color. He starts to open the gate to eternal life. John finds out where they are and tries to stop him, but he can't break the protection barrier. His assistant turns into the sword, and to boost its power, he injures himself to feed it with energy. He attacks the barrier and succeeds in breaking it. At that moment, Yang becomes furious and summons a demonic sword. The battle begins, and everyone fights with their full strength. John's friend helps by giving him part of his spiritual energy. John manages to strike Yang and almost finishes him off. Yang, feeling he's losing, grabs Sarah and threatens to kill her. Just then, Xiao arrives. Yang decides to let Sarah go and take Xiao with him to eternal life. John tries to save her, but his power is already too weak. Yang hits him with a powerful blow, knocking him to the ground. Everyone thinks he's dead, but thanks to the prayers of the people John saved, he manages to open his eyes again. The series turns a bit melodramatic here. John hits Yang and knocks him down, freeing Sarah from the demon's control. Yang realizes he's defeated and tries one last attack, gathering all his strength to strike Sarah. Michael throws himself in front of her, taking the blow and dying to protect her. John becomes furious, gathers all his strength, strikes Yang, and obliterates him completely. The gate closes, but a heavenly thunderbolt is destined to strike 3 times. John shields Xiao with his body, taking 2 strikes and suffering in pain. When Xiao sees he might die, she decides to sacrifice herself by taking the 3rd strike. The curse ends, but her soul begins to fade. She dies in John's arms while he cries. She tells him she's happy to have sacrificed herself for him and disappears. John keeps crying. The next day, Sarah wakes up and sees Michael in front of her. She's overjoyed that he's still alive and asks about Xiao, but he doesn't answer and acts distant. John walks in, and she realizes Xiao is truly gone. She's heartbroken and hugs Michael, only to find out that he's actually dead and just a spirit. John summoned him to say goodbye. Sarah is shattered, not understanding how her beloved and her closest friend have both died. She sobs. Michael asks her to forget him and move on with her life. He recalls his memories with her and cries too. Then he fades away. Sarah is left heartbroken, crying every day over their loss. John, feeling her sadness, asks a spirit to help her forget all her memories. That way, she'll forget the pain. He cries too because she'll also forget him. Sarah hugs him and says goodbye while crying. Later, John talks with his friend, who tells him Michael will be reborn, will meet Sarah again, and they'll live happily ever after. John is happy for his sister and friend. He returns to the underworld, where he meets the queen. She smiles and reveals she transferred Xiao's soul to another person before it faded, saving her. She's back working with them under a new name. John is happy and goes to meet her. They're overjoyed to be reunited at last. They decide to return to the human world. They visit Sarah, who has graduated and works as a journalist. Suddenly, they appear in front of her. She feels like she knows them and smiles. John is happy that she's living her best life. She receives an alert about a ghost sighting, and Xiao tells him to go do his job and that she'll wait for him. John kisses her on the forehead and tells her he won't be long. Dear viewer, that's it. That's the end of the series. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and follow the personal channel. Bye-bye.